coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming after me, coming for to carry me home. And home.
Everything.
Such a pretty lady, huh?
Yes, he is.
Okay, we're ready.
My name is Cleveland Joseph Mendoza Jr. I'm retired from the U.S. Navy, and presently I'm at a home in Jennings, Louisiana. It's a Veterans Home, Southwest Louisiana. Okay, when I was a teenager, I joined the submarine reserve. My buddies, they would join in the National Guard so they could steal ammunition and impress the girls with tin helmets. But my buddy, he was the only one. He said, hey, submarines, they pay $50 extra a month. I said, that sounds good. So I joined up.
My name is Edward Taylor Carter, and I'm 100 years old. I was born October the 4th, 1922. I was in the Army, 1942. I served for 3 years, 1 month, and 12 days. I had one brother, James Carter. James was in the Army also. He was wounded in Aachen, Germany. Flew to England, where he got medical attention, and was on a troop train headed for the invasion of Japan when President Truman dropped that bomb. It ended the war.
A short time ago, an American airplane dropped one bomb on Hiroshima and destroyed its usefulness to the enemy. That bomb has more power than 20,000 tons of TNT. The Japanese began the war from the air at Pearl Harbor.
My name is James Allen Lorman. I was born in the front room at Grandma's house in Morse, Louisiana. When I was 16 years old, I quit school. I joined the U.S. I guess you could call it commercial shippers. I was a merchant seaman then. I joined up with the Merchant Marines, and we were taking equipment to Germany and around in that area. And I was doing pretty good. I was on the tail end of I wasn't in the service, in the military at that time when I was at World War II. I was bringing equipment to the people in the Army from the U.S. I was on the ship, working on the ship that would haul stuff from the U.S. to the workers, to the farm, to that darn military. And they'd take the stuff off the ship, we'd go back and get another load and come back. And that's about the extent of my youthhood. And then I joined up with the merchant seamen, and it was all over the place. We went to Germany, we went to Japan, we went to all these little islands along the way. I can't remember all the names. And I had a good life. And that was it until I joined the Army. When the Korean War broke out, I got off the merchant ships and went on a military ship. I was in the Army, and they had to ship me overseas to Japan, to Korea. And so I spent some time in a year in Korea. I went overseas again. And my wife and I went overseas. The government shipped both of us. And I went into these units and did the same thing. Took care of myself and my wife. The time was bad, and we had to kill a lot of people over there to keep them down. But that was either killed or be killed. And so that was it. Then she died, my wife died. I remarried, my wife died, and so here I am. I try to forget my army time, that I was overseas during the war conflict in Korea, what have you.
I was on 2 submarines, the 2 missile submarines, Ethan Allen and Theodore Roosevelt. I was on the Diesel submarine, and someone says flooding. When you flood, everybody flow, go to the surface. You find out later what's wrong. What it was just a valve was leaking. And somebody came back again a little while later and sees the water pouring on the deck back there. Flooding, you don't stop, you go ahead and blow and go. But the sail of the submarine is big like a rudder. Instead of just coming up straight, that and the wave come, went over about 90 degrees, like this. It's a deep sink where you're sitting. The steward was walking by, and he grabs the sink, and here's the sink like this, like a Niagara Falls, just. The toaster makes dents the ceiling. Just, it was kind of scary. Imagine that, everything flying. Good thing dinner wasn't finished, it had wiped it out. I thought it was real cool being a young kid. You're the youngest and least experienced person on that boat. And you're driving the thing like a kid with a sports car.
I took my basic training at Camp Walters, Texas. That's a replacement center. And I went to New York, went overseas on the Queen Elizabeth. They say there was 15,000 troops on the boat. We zigzagged across so a German submarine couldn't torpedo us.
Those Armor 8 compasses, the compass we have on board, it's floating about in 7 or 8 pounds of mercury, sloshing around, right there in the control room. Everybody's leaning above it, giving off vapors. We used to play with it, And it's not too good for your system, mercury.
I had a terrible sickness. They tell me there's only about 8 people in the world that ever had the disease. When it hits you, you see little children walking around. When you looked at a man's face there, he might be disfigured. I looked outside and it was raining, and little animals, like a penguin walking around. I come into my room and it was still raining. The room and everything, it was a very, very scary disease. They tell me I'm the only man that ever lived to overcome this sickness.
I danced an awful lot. I danced with my wife, and she danced very good, and we won all the contests we entered in. And that's who I danced with.
After I got out of the Navy, I retired, and I went crawfishing. I worked for my cousin for a while, then I started crawfishing for myself, bought a boat, chase the little critters. That's gonna sound negative, but everything in my life, I figure, when I retire, is gone. Other than you can read and do stuff like that. Well, some people, kind of feel sorry for you. Want to help you across the street. No, not really. But it's different. The main thing with me is I don't feel old. That is weird. Because everybody keeps telling me I look young and act young. And I know I act stupid, but I just don't feel like I'm old. Now, it's starting to hurt here about a week ago, burn here in the kneecap. My ankle's swole up. I must be getting old, huh?
Most valuable life lesson, do the best you can for what you can do, and don't push anybody aside that you think you don't like just because of their color. Everybody was born to be on this continent by the good Lord. He put everybody here. And he meant for everybody to get along. And you get along with everybody. And it don't make me no difference. I'll talk to them, dance with them, or buy them a beer or whatever. When I got married, my wife and I got along fine. We got along with everybody we met. Black and white. Didn't make no difference. At that time, everybody was kind of staying away from the black people. Hell, my wife and I talked to them. We went with them. We danced with them. We did everything with them. And that was it. We got along with everybody.
I guess you could live by the slogan my mother taught me and my brother. Be nice to the people going up the ladder, because you meet the same people coming down. And I would say to the young men, it's very, very important that you marry the right woman. And also, it works the woman should marry the right man. I had a very, very happy marriage. My wife was from Cameron Parish. We was married for 56 years. And for instance, at night if I would be worried about something, she'd say, "Oh, come on to bed, we'll worry about that in the morning."
Well, I guess the main thing is not holding a grudge and having hate. Because some people, they just pissed off all the time. I might not like something somebody does, but I don't have to live and breathe it. I noticed since I've been here, I seem like I'm smiling to myself. I don't know why, but I am.
I have no regrets with my life at all. I've had a good life as far as I can tell. I did my job. I got promoted doing my job. And instead of just sitting there looking good, I left with them. I did with them. I worked with them. I did everything I could to be with people. And it didn't make me no difference what they was, where their heritage come from.
My advice to young people today is get all the education you can get. And it's very, very important that you marry the right person. Try to get a job with something that you like to do, so it's fun to work. Get in that school and learn everything you can. Now, when you get into higher math like geometry and algebra, the first couple of weeks, don't be asleep. If you don't get it then, you'll never get it. You'll be lost for the whole year.
You treat people like you want to be treated. And you will die, but it's different. If you think you're going to meet the devil, you're going to meet the devil. And your God will look just like you want him to look.
Life is so short, no matter how long it is, it's still short. So do the best you can with what you got and keep it going.
I'll say like my old grandmother said. She was from Nebraska. I was talking to her one Sunday afternoon. I was about a young boy, about 15 years old. She was old and nearly blind. I said, "Grandmother, it's a tough old world." She whirled around at me. "It's a tough old world, but well worth living." And I thought of that all my life.
The way people think, people on their front porch talking, they don't do that now. Snapping their snap beans and talking. It is totally different. I mean, if you got a cap gun for Christmas, man, that was cool. Now, hell, if you don't have $1,000 worth of gear, electronic gear, it's crap, But I mean, it's just, they think different. I could get a cup of ice cream. This was back in the early 40s, or mid 40s, with a nickel, or a comic book for a nickel. You thought different. The kids ran around the neighborhood. Nobody worried about getting kidnapped or murdered, because it had hardly ever happened. And I remember air conditioning was just starting to come in. The only place had it were usually the bars. You see us on, we have air conditioning. You see the people walk by in their seersucker shoots with big old sweat stains underneath it. Everybody's used to air conditioning now. We just,
whew. They got their own thing going. Each one has his own thing going, and he don't mix up with anybody else. And he carries a chip on his shoulder everywhere he goes, no matter where it is. If there's some color that he don't like, he don't talk to them. He don't associate with them. And I think you're supposed to associate with anybody that wants to be a friend of yours.
They won't put their freaking phones down. They up there sitting next to each other texting, I mean, sit down, talk, go outside. Look for worms or bugs in the bushes, man. Not just sitting on a couch playing. I mean, it's unreal. And they want to have all this expensive stuff, the gear. Yeah, I remember when I used to get a pair of those steel roller skates for Christmas. That lasted me for a couple of years before they eat through.
Life is very good if you play it right. I enjoy life quite a bit. And if things was different and I wasn't able to do what I do, then I wouldn't think life was too good. But right now, life is not too good for me because I don't have none of my family here.
But it's just the way the world's totally changed, Everything has changed. Well, of course, every generation before me, horse and buggy, And now I'm the older generation. All the old people are dead. Most of them, there's maybe a few hanging-ons. But and I still can't think I'm old. I don't feel, I don't know why.
What do I miss from my younger days? Well, having a mother to be there all the time, and that's about it. She died when I was young, and so I didn't have nobody to, I had a stepmother, but she's not like a mother.
Just freedom. Just to ride a bicycle, or ride a pair of skates, ride my truck, anything. It's just, your whole life changes. I mean, you just can't do what you did before.
Most important thing that I learned in my life is get along with everybody. Talk to everybody. Don't call anybody out. They're just human too, just like me.